slam you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you. And rubbing's son is racing.
And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing. This is episode number 17. Let's just call it 17. And we are doing an interview podcast today. I'm Peter Wilko Wilkinson, joined by Brayden Martin, the owner of some sexy new pedals, but we will talk about that later. But I'm really talking about we're joined by Stig Gaming. How you going, mate?
Hey, I'm doing good, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. I found you through Daniel, and I've been checking out your podcast. I love it, guys. It's awesome.
Oh, thank
love
you.
What you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry that you know Daniel. That is a real problem, but there's nothing we can do about that. But so Daniel Gray put us onto you, and you sort of I harassed his stream the other day, and you said you were keen, so why not? Let's do it. Well, American time zones meet up with school holidays in Australia. Let's record one straight away. But let's get straight into it. Explain to our listeners who you are, Stig.
Well, my name's Greg. I have worked for NASCAR teams. I live in Northern Kentucky in the USA, obviously.
Yep.
I've lived here my whole life. Right now I'm currently a work at home dispatcher for a trucking company, but more importantly, I'm a streamer and I love streaming and it's so much fun. I just love meeting people like you guys.
Excellent. It is good fun, like especially with different communities, especially like you've obviously found all over the world. You get people from all over the world just popping in to say hello, and then all of a sudden you find 3 weeks later they hear everything. Like what's that kind of like?
Oh, that is probably the most rewarding part of it. I love that interaction with people, halfway around the world. Take example Daniel. It's kind of scary. We're almost like brothers in a way. And without streaming, that would have never happened. Funny story how we met. It was through a random raid after a stream of mine one night, and found this streamer that said he was the most handsome and talented iRacer. Don't Google it. So I was like, I got to raid this guy, and yeah, I mean, and I've met a lot of people that way, and it's super rewarding, and I love it. It's my favorite part.
I do want to get into Twitch streaming later on, but I want to push that to the back of the podcast because there's more important stuff to talk about for you because you've got some really cool and interesting stories in your life that we want to get to. But first, I want to start with what was your first game? Like you've been a gamer for a while. What was the first games you remember playing? And when?
Man, I'm gonna date myself. Thank you for asking me this. I'm gonna show how old I am. But
yep,
the first game I remember playing was Asteroids for the Atari 2600.
Yep.
I mean, that Pitfall Harry. I mean, all the old Atari classics. I mean, that's where I started.
Did you have an affinity? Did you ever get to pit stop and things like that and go, wow, this is cool. This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Moving beyond the 2600, one of the next games that really I got into was the original Indy 500 by Papyrus.
Wow.
That was the one that kind of hooked me into sim racing, and that would have been what, 93? Is that right? 93? I think that when that came out.
No one will fact check you. It's okay.
Yeah, I think it was early 90s. And
does sound about right.
Having a computer lab at school was kind of new. So I would find, I had a friend that would he would copy the big floppy disks, and he gave me a copy of Indy 500, and I took it to school, and I was popping it into the computers at school, playing it instead of doing the typing lessons they had us doing,
Well, I reckon you probably got more out of it, obviously. So that's the best way to do it. Honestly, we had year 11 and 12, the computer labs in the library. Someone put a copy of Doom into and put it on one of the PCs, and then everyone's job whenever they played it was to copy and paste it, the whole folder, into about 7 or different locations. So when the teachers found it, they'd remove it, but then there'd be 7 or 8 different versions of it on the in the network at any one point in time. So back then they had the security was you had to log in as a teacher to be able to do anything like that. But if you crossed out and pressed no, I don't want to log in as a teacher, I don't want to log in at all, it actually went to the back end as an admin anyway. So you could just do whatever you wanted in the background, and no teachers had no idea what they were doing. So it was really good fun.
Oh yeah.
What was your favorite game over all these years been?
Probably NR 2003, quite honestly, with all the mods. And I mean, that game's still going. I mean, there's still an active mod community for it. I mean, iRacing's great and awesome. I love iRacing, but probably NR 2003, that's what got me into online racing. And it didn't cost me a fortune in long distance fees to race online by that time.
It does sound like I remember. I don't think I ever did the online racing back then, but I definitely took my computer to a internet provider to get them to download the patch for the latest game that I wanted to get because it was 16 megabytes and my computer didn't handle it back then.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a big one. Mech Warrior, I think it was. But what else did Stig do when he was growing up besides gaming and all this other stuff?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so we were, there was a lot going on. We were always, we raised cattle, so there was always stuff going on the farm, which was awesome. I loved it. I still try to get, there's some friends of mine that still have farms that I, through the summer I'll go and we'll do stuff on the farm together and we have fun. But growing up, a lot of that, riding ATVs, doing stuff like that. And, at about 13, I started racing dirt and raced circle track dirt. And of course, that was fun. That was all funded by the farm. The farm work paid for the race car. I would get paid and then everything I made, I put back into the race car, which was really awesome. But yeah, I mean, that was a lot of my childhood was racing and farming and bombing around outside having fun.
Before I throw you over to Brayden, because I stole his questions before, I forgot there was a whole color scheme going on, so I just recolored it in the background. He's going to go next, but I want to ask, how big was the farm in Kentucky growing up? Like, what are we talking? Little farms, big farms, massive farms?
For the area that I live in, it was kind of an average size, but in the grand scheme of, like big ranches that are thousands of acres, it was like 150 acres, it wasn't very big.
Okay. What did you mainly farm or deal with on the farm?
We raised cattle, corn, a lot of stuff like that. I mean, the area of Kentucky that I'm from, it's very hilly, there's a lot of ridges. And so all the farmland's kind of up on these ridges and, it's not a lot of flat ground here. So it was just a lot of like corn, crops that you could use to kind of support the either beef or, pork or whatever you were raising animal wise was kind of what we did.
So how important was that to obviously what happened the rest of your career? Obviously you said it started that motorsport, funding the motorsport driving. Was that the integral part? If you didn't grow up on that farm, you wouldn't have been able to do the motorsport stuff you end up doing down the track?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Without that, cause you get that, of course, you have, you learn a lot of different things, growing up on a farm, like with, kind of that self-sufficient making things out of nothing. And it was, you kind of get that, I can weld this roll cage up, I can build a roll cage for this car. So, without all that knowledge and of course, having that, the facilities to do it, have a barn or whatever that you work out of. Yeah. Without that, the driving never would have happened.
Excellent. I will throw you over to Brayden.
So
don't hog the whole podcast.
So obviously, was that where the love for motorsport started with the dirt? Was it karting or was it in a like a modified car or?
No, it was a 4-cylinder Chevrolet Chevette. Actually, was what I raced. There was a whole class for these cars. They're Chevette class.
Okay,
just little four banger hatchbacks, and it it was almost like a demolition derby on a round track. I mean, these cars were rough, man. They were beat up. Wire holding the fenders on. All it just rough stuff, but it was so much fun. And it was cool. It was been a that would have been a 3/8 mile dirt track.
Yep.
So it was on a full size dirt track.
Was that mainly against people your age, or all over the sort of the spectrum?
Yeah, all over the spectrum. I mean, there were guys. There were guys that raced when we started. There were guys that had raced late models, but were into their 60s. Had gotten out of it because of the money, and they got these 4-cylinder cars. Of course, as it is with every one of those classes, money kind of took over, and it only lasted probably 6 years, but man, it was a good 6 years. And it, like I say, everybody raced in the beginning. It was old people, young, middle-aged. There were people that had higher class cars, were putting their kids in the Chevettes, and it was a lot of fun.
Did you have any success?
Yeah, actually I did. Raced at a track, and it's still there. In Peebles, Ohio, Brush Creek Motorsports Complex. Won what was it, 9 straight features
Wow.
before finally somebody basically took me out. They tried to take out the car, and that put me. So I didn't win the track championship that year, but I won 9 straight features. It was awesome, dude. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive stuff for sure. At what point did you realize that you might actually be able to make a living out of motorsport?
Well, it was kind of that then. I mean, I was 13, 14 when I started racing Chevettes. So that was kind of, was like, when you're that age, everything's possible. You don't care. You're just, yeah, I'll go do that. So that was kind of, what kind of set my path, through school. I took a lot of manufacturing classes and stuff like that, and welding and different things that would help, and kind of set me up for college.
Absolutely. So, what was your first job once you got more into the motorsport industry? Not so much as on the racing side anymore, but actually as part of your job.
So, the college I went to, University of Northwestern Ohio, and it's still one of the best motorsports colleges in America. When I was there, it was just a starting program, but they had a deal, and I'll never forget it. They had a deal. They said, you join the motorsports club, and they had a dirt track on campus, Lima Land, which is in iRacing. That track is owned by University of Northwestern Ohio. But you join the motorsports club, and we'll go to the racetrack, and we'll work the racetrack. We have a school modified that we put a driver in. We let some of the students race it. And so that started, and they got involved with ARCA. And then the big thing was, hey, we can get free ARCA credentials, and we'll send you to go find a job with an ARCA team as a volunteer. And that's when it happened. That was kind of the catalyst. Is, I was like, free ARCA credentials? Absolutely. Let's go. So I hooked up with Hickson Motorsports in ARCA, and it was a 23 car driven by Ron Cox at the time. And I ended up there literally just helping push the car through tech. That was my job. Get a rag and some cleaner and clean the car in between practices and before the race, and help push the car through tech. That was my job.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. What was it like being able to just go and basically watch and be a part of racing as basically part of your everyday college sort of, study? That's pretty awesome.
Oh man, the program they have up there is really awesome, and it's when I went, it was so rudimentary. I mean, we were literally just like in a little metal building, laying out stuff, and had people. The instructors were great, but being able to do that on a daily basis and be involved, and just learning about it and going to the dirt track and all the different things. That made college fun. Amongst other things, doing normal college activities, but hey, that was the icing on the cake.
That's a pretty good icing on the cake, that's for sure. um, so how long did you study there before you sort of moved off and went into the ARCA side of things?
Well, so I was there for 2 years. I mean, I was in the associate's degree program there, and after after that, I stayed with it with Hickson. Purely because, I mean, honestly, I loved it. I did, when I got to ARCA, I was kind of like, man, if this is it, I was perfectly fine with it. And I was he was giving me like $50 for gas, to go to these races, and we were traveling all over. We were going to Pocono, Kansas, we were traveling around quite a bit, and all he could afford to pay was like $50, and that's what I made to go to the racetrack. But I did it. He paid for my credentials, of course, but after school. But man, I mean, I was perfectly fine with it. That was great, and by staying involved in it, it opened up a lot of doors, just from the networking, and that's what got me into NASCAR.
Yeah. So oh, sorry,
no, you go.
I was just gonna say, so from there, so for those that don't know, you both did some pit crew and spotting in NASCAR and ARCA. Is that right?
Yes. In ARCA, I did some spotting for Joe Cooksey, when he drove for us. Ron drove the first year and the biggest part of the second year I worked for him. The second year I worked for him, I was the front tire carrier. So that was kind of my first experience carrying tires live during a race was at Daytona. And it was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. Still, I stood on the wall with this tire, and while I was in the pits, I didn't really think about what was going on. But we're talking 2003, so NASCAR was really at its height, and so I get up on the wall. They call a pit stop. I'm up on the wall. I'm like, I'm ready to go. I look up and I see this grandstand that just looks like it just the expanse is forever going both directions, and it's full of people, and it's like every one of those people are looking at me, and I'm going to screw this up. So that was kind of that was my introduction, and the spotting stuff came a little later, but that was also for Joe. And it actually happened I think the first time I went up on the stand it might have been Gateway for practice. And his brother normally spotted for him. So he, for whatever reason, didn't make it to the track on time. And I'm trying to remember how it worked, but it was like 5 minutes before practice. They were like, he's not here. We got to have a spotter to go up for practice. And I'm like, I'll go. And they handed me a radio bag and said, "Run! They're going to close the gate. You've got to get up on the spotter stand." So they had to wait on pit road for me to get up on the spotter stand and check in with the ARCA official before he could even go out. So it was kind of a rushed thing.
What age were you when that happened?
Oh, I would have been. Let's see, that would have been 2004. So I would have been 21.
Wow. So at 21, you decided, why not? Nothing could go wrong here. I'm just going to go spot. And that was where it started. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know how it is at that age. You just kind of, you're indestructible and you don't care,
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Why not?
Me now, would I just volunteer and be like, hey, do you want to go over here and be the jack man for this car? Let me think about that for a minute.
I was just going to say, I can understand the nerves as well, because I can't imagine a grandstand full of packed NASCAR fans that are, rooting for your car. Are probably the most forgiving group of fans you could have if you do make a mistake whilst doing the pit stop and, chucking their team back a little bit in the field. I can't imagine they're the most forgiving.
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, once it's kind of like that old thing about, you're nervous right up until it actually happens. Well, as soon as the
Mhm.
car was sliding into the pit box, I didn't even think. It just
Yeah, it's
the
all
butterflies
instinct.
and everything was gone. You just do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's thinking about what can happen and what could go wrong is what the problem is. Could you have picked a less active track than Daytona to start doing tires for the first time?
Well, I would have liked to, but hey, the owner, bless him. His name is Wayne Hickson, and he still is. He's still kicking around. He's been doing some health issues, but man, he was a Marine in Vietnam. He was all about, you know, you're going right in the middle of the fire. We're going to see whether you sink or swim. So Daytona it was. I was like, all right, cool.
Well,
And I
why
didn't
not?
screw
What could
anything
go
up.
wrong?
They let me keep doing it.
How heavy is one of those tires?
Speedway tires, um, they're about 90 pounds, thereabouts. Not sure what that
And
is
you've
in
and you've got
kilograms,
to
but
put it right on the spot, and obviously that spot is not known until the car physically comes to a stop, I guess.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll see a lot of them. They'll have like a piece of orange tape, and
Yeah,
why they put that there is to line up with one of the holes for the lugs.
yeah.
And that's what you line up with a lug, and then boom, you just pop it on, stud it every single time without having to. The thing is, you don't want to rotate it because that costs time. So, boom, you just hit it. It just kind of happens.
So a question I want to jump in before and ask, like, obviously Australia has V8 supercars is their big thing. If you go to one of the
Mhm.
big races, it's chaos, but it's nothing compared to motorsports in America. Like, what's it like being inside, looking out at how massive motorsports is, especially the oval racing over there in America?
Um, man, it's fun. It's just and it's amazing. I mean, it's not what it once was. Probably when I was in, it was at its height, but I mean, still to this day to go it's huge. I mean, it's a bit intimidating, like at Daytona for me. Being on that inside looking out, you're there's so much pressure, and I was fortunate to do it so young. I didn't feel that pressure, I guess. It was I felt it later on once I had a family, and a daughter and a wife and this, that, and the other. And car payments and house payments, this, that, all that. I started
Yeah.
feeling the pressure then, but as I have more appreciation for that now, probably than I did at the time.
So you start spotting, right?
Mhm.
How long did that go for, the whole spotting career?
Well, it happened that one time, and I'll never forget. Joe, Joe pulled me off to the side. He was like, "Hey, that was really good." He was like, "I was like, really? I'm just a kid. I just said things that I'd heard other spotters say when I'd been at the racetrack, either as a fan, listening on the radio, or I just tried to emulate what some of those guys did." And he was like, "Man, that's really good." He was like, "When my brother's not here, I'd love to have you spot." And I'm like, "Cool." So I was kind of the backup spotter for a long time, and then Joe left. Um, just being the grind of being gone. He was in his 40s then with two kids that were almost grown, so they were doing things. So we were fortunate enough to have Dale Jarrett's son Jason come drive for us, and that was really that was kind of the start of the spotting.
So I'm just trying to understand spotting itself. Like I completely know how important it is doing a few oval races on iRacing and just going, I don't know how close I am
Mhm.
to this car, and then having someone sitting with me, but and actually tell me and tell me to get over and get closer and all that kind of stuff. But what's the most important skills for spotting? Do you think?
Being honestly, I think the biggest skill required when being a spotter is the ability to keep calm. You can't if you start screaming, and then one, you've got a driver who's incredibly focused on what's going on. Now he's kind of freaking, and you're freaking out, and none of the information that you're trying to convey is getting across. So I think really that's honestly the biggest skill is just that ability to keep calm and kind of keep your driver focused on what's going on.
So did how big of a difference does it make? Now we know NASCAR drivers it's down to tenths of a second and things like that, but how much of a difference does a really good spotter versus an ordinary spotter make in your eyes?
They can be the difference between, I mean, if you wanted to put it into time, I would say half a second. I mean, depending on, you know, what kind of spotter if you've got somebody, but the main thing is a good spotter, you know, is worth finishing the race. I mean, if you've got a
Yeah.
terrible spotter, you know, that guy, if he's not able to, you know, kind of keep a driver focused, you know, the next thing you know, you've got a guy on the wall and you're out of $150,000 vehicle.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. Yeah, look, and how did you train those skills? Like, I used to say that you just picked up what you knew and you heard other people do, but like at once you get to that serious level where you're doing it day in day out, and he's trusting. How did you hone those skills?
Literally just watching races, all, you know, and just being around it, and it just for me, I mean, it just kind of came naturally, I guess, just because, and even still kind of to this day, I mean, I kind of live, eat, breathe, and sleep racing. So if there's a race on, I'm watching it and just watching what's going on with the cars. And I think to some degree what helped was driving at a young age, being a driver too. I could kind of relate a little bit. So I think that kind of helped.
Do you miss spotting at all?
Oh yes. I miss that. I miss that way more than the pit crew stuff. Those guys doing pit stops now, they're college athletes. I mean, they're. I mean, I'm just an old farm boy from Kentucky. Yeah. Now they've got, you know, college athletes doing this stuff. No, but I seriously miss the spotting. I would love to be a spotter again. That was just and I still enjoy it, and I still do it for Daniel too. So, you know, I kind of helps get my fix.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen one of Daniel's streams with Stig spotting as well, please make sure you check it out. I remember the first one that I watched. I literally could have sat there and watched you do 4 or 5 races in a row, and I barely had an interest in oval racing at the time, but it was captivating to just listen to all the little intricate details that you wouldn't get, and if you were just driving around by yourself, it was actually really, really impressive.
That's probably the highest compliment I've ever been given. I appreciate that, seriously.
Oh, it was, yeah, it really was. What were some of the best races that you were a part of when you were spotting?
Some of the best, probably, man, I'm trying to think, because I mean, we were an underfunded team. The team that I mostly spot, you know, that I did a lot of the spotting for, we were underfunded, so a lot of the races were just the races where everything went right. You know, we kind of got a good finish. We might have been a lap down or whatever, you know, but you know, there was a time at Talladega we got to lead. That was probably some of the most fun. I mean, it happened through pit stops. It wasn't like we drove to the front like Dale Earnhardt or anything big, you know. But after that pit stop, for a glorious 4 or 5 laps, we were in the lead, and it was just, you know, a 20-something-year-old kid up here, and I'm like, well, you're in the lead.
Not much to tell you at the moment.
Yeah, you're leading. They're all behind you. Well, yeah. There was, and then eventually it was like, okay, here come the fast cars. They're coming outside. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm just staying low.
This was a question that I've been forced into asking. It was, how does it feel to spot someone as amazing as Daniel Gray? That I don't know who asked me to ask that question, but I was forced into it. That's all I could say.
I have a sneaking suspicion. You know, spotting for Daniel is simultaneously one of the most fun and stressful things I've ever done in my entire life. But it's never not fun. It's always a blast, and I have a blast doing it, even though I'm sure regular viewers of Daniel's stream will note I, sometimes get a little stressed, but it's it's an interesting thing spotting for Daniel. Daniel, it's very interesting spotting for you. Thank you for asking that.
I think one of the things that always makes me laugh is the fact that sometimes he still thinks he knows better than you. You'll be like,
oh, I know.
No, I really think we should come in for this pit stop, or no, you need to take this line. It's going to save the tires. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure I'll be fine. And then lo and behold, pit stop ruins his race, or all of a sudden his tires are wrecked, and you're like, sometimes I can say it all I want, but he's still not going to listen.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, hey, about that pit stop? He's like, I know. I should have listened to you.
How hard is it to concentrate while you're up on the spotters sort of platform, and with everything going on? Are you close to the other spotters? Like, are they a distraction?
Yeah, they're up there, but honestly, you're so focused on what's going on, you don't really pay attention. I mean, they're there. If they're in your way, they're a distraction, but usually a quick elbow will move them. So, if a guy's leaning over the railing too far, you kind of give him a quick elbow and he's like, oh, and he'll back up. But usually, generally you're so just intensely focused on what's going on. Not a lot else pays, you don't pay attention to a lot.
I want to quickly jump in. What kind of aids do you have as a spotter in real life at the track?
Like at Daytona or Talladega, you'll obviously you'll have binoculars, but other than that, really nothing. You've got usually your radio will have 2 channels running simultaneously, one with the team and then one that you can listen to NASCAR with, or ARCA, or whoever the sanctioning body is. So that way you can hear when they're calling for a yellow, or if they're trying to get you put in line, they'll say, hey, spotter for the 23, back of the line, just stuff like that. So you do have that, but other than that, it's binoculars and the Mark I eyeball.
Wow. Are you like, how much time are you spent looking at the car that you're running, and as opposed to looking up ahead and trying to see what's happening above? And like, when there's an accident, is it like, are you just trying to make the best prediction of possible of where you should be telling them to go, or how does that must be a lot of pressure? Like, you said, you get that wrong and say go low when you should have said go high, and all of a sudden there's $100,000 worth of damage.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, but you're kind of scanning kind of in front and in back of the car all the time. Just on a 1.5 miles, it's a little harder because everybody gets so spread out. But generally, if they're so spread out, the driver will see the accident as he's coming to it, unless it's right on top of him. So a lot of that, especially it's the pack racing, that's you're really kind of just scanning the pack the whole time, because generally your driver's going to be in the line that he's in, so you can keep that call. If he's in the middle of a 3 wide, which in iRacing is terrifying, but those guys do it and they're just like on a drive to the store, in town, they don't care. But you can just keep that call, but you're constantly scanning with your eyes to the back and front just in case there's trouble. So it's kind of having that peripheral vision to be able to just kind of keep an eye on things as it's going is really what you're using more than anything.
If they had a heart rate monitor hooked up to you, like what kind of beats per minute do you reckon you'd be hitting spotting, especially in the middle of a 3 wide at Talladega?
In the model, honestly, probably it wouldn't be that bad. It's generally when you see smoke. When you see smoke, that's when you get that spike and it feels like your head's going to explode. The blood pressure comes up. It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, you're also, like stuttering. You're like, trying to make sure you're not stuttering. Car, crash.
Spinny things. Things are spinning.
Yeah. First time somebody spun in front of a car, I stuttered till he was all the way by it, and he said, "That's okay." He said, "I knew you were trying to say it. I heard you. You're good."
Do the drivers, or any of the drivers I suppose you worked for, have they ever like had a big blow up, or got really annoyed at making a wrong call or something like that, or they're normally pretty calm and pretty good?
Yeah, I never experienced that. I mean, I know there have been some spotters, man, that would get absolutely chewed out, but I never experienced that myself. I mean, we'd always, there would be something where we would talk and be like, they would be like, hey, next time in this situation, let's do da da da. But I always try to take that feedback. I've never been one to avoid feedback or think I know better. So,
and I guess
if
I was just going to say, I guess that relationship between spotter and driver is probably pretty important, because they're effectively really trusting what you say, and if you don't sort of have that trust between each other, there's almost no point you being up there.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That is so. Yeah, if there's no chemistry, I mean, not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess yeah, kind of friendship. You've got to have that trust, from the driver to the spotter. I know he's going to do his best to keep me out of trouble, and if that driver loses that trust, yeah, usually it's a broken. It's kind of like a marriage. It's a broken marriage, honestly.
What are the most common mistakes that oval drivers sort of make? I guess you could relate that to iRacing as well. But if there's people that are looking into running more ovals who maybe have not done it before, what sort of things should they be looking out for?
Back your corners up. I know you've heard that if you watch Daniel's stream. Back your corners up. Don't charge the corners thinking there's banking and I can just plow down way deep into the corner. Let off early, let the car roll. And you can keep some throttle, but back off of that throttle from full throttle early, almost up on the straightaway most times. Back off on your entries, and you'll save tires, you'll go faster, and you'll pass them on exit, which is, granted, it's probably not as fun to pass people on exit. I know Daniel hates it, but pass them on the exit where it's easy. Just make it look easy.
All right, did you
But
hear all
As
that?
long as
was
as long
gonna
as
say,
I'm
did you hear that,
passing, I'm
Pete?
happy. As long as I'm passing someone, I'm happy. I sit there and I qualify last on purpose, and I sit back and I sit behind the last tire and I just lap until they go in the pits or my tires come good. That's all I do.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Pete's just started running a oval series on Wednesday nights over here, and I think
Yeah.
you've got okay considering it. You've been on basically last on the lead lap both races so far. Is that right?
Yeah, I make one silly mistake every race, and the first one was I pitted. I miscalculated fuel, had to pit, got speeding in pit lane, and then missed my bay, all in one little succession. And then the last week, week before was just I just exited too didn't exit narrow enough, and just the front right whacked the wall, and that was the end of the like that took me halfway back on the lead lap. But yeah, last week was a good one. We had a bit of strategy and we got up, I think, the 13th or 10th or something in the end. But it was a mischievous little stuffed up race that we played the game and we got there in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm enjoying it, and yeah, the strategy is I have literally qualified last of the people who set times every single time. I don't know how to get faster at that, but my tires just go for days. So everyone starts falling away, and I go past them. It's really good fun.
Oh, and I would rather win a race that way than run fast every lap too. That's to me is more fun.
It definitely is. And then and everyone's pitted, and I'm still out there on my fuel. I'm like, I've still got a couple laps left, people. I'll come in now. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, let's just cruising by them. I love it.
This one was from Ira, one of the leagues we run in, who he runs, and one of the Locked On Discord members. So he wanted to know, what do quick drivers do better than the rest, besides obviously the going fast? Like, what kind of habits or techniques do they have that maybe the slower or less patient drivers don't have?
Honestly, they save tires. They're able to go fast and save tires. That's the trick. Is if you can't keep your tires under you, then what's the point? Yeah, you can go out there and just bomb around and set fast time, but if you've killed your tires in the first 3 laps, then what's the use? It's Yeah, I mean that's what the best drivers are able to still go fast, but keep their tires under them. Absolutely, all day, every day.
So I need you to explain something to me. Like we were
Mhm.
part of podcasting when the Indy 500 was on a couple of months ago now. When obviously we had some skin in the game with Scotty McLaughlin over there, and there's a few Kiwis
Oh
racing around
yeah.
there as well. How does it last more than a week? I don't understand this concept. Is it
Well,
like a
it used to
2 week
be
process?
the whole month of May, and
Oh gosh.
as of course as technology and simulation has gotten better, they don't really need it now. I mean, they've kind of condensed it down
Yes.
to a week,
Week and a
even
half to
if
yeah.
yeah. I
Because it was
mean,
qualifying. I'm like, sweet, here we go, getting a race this weekend. Excellent qualifying. And then they're like, okay, qualifying's still going 3 days later, and the race will be next weekend. And I'm like, oh, really? You
yeah. I
don't do
mean,
things in halves over there, do you?
no, they used to. Man, these guys would bring. I mean, they'd bring 3 or 4 cars, and if one car wasn't fast enough, they'd pull another one out. Day two, we're going to go qualify this car instead. That car's junk. We wrecked it. Whatever. They'd come up with some reason, and then day two, we'd take it. They'd take a new car, new engine package, and they'd go do it again. But it's kind of sad to watch now because all that innovation of we've got these tricks we can put into this car um, for day three qualifying to make sure we get in the field. It's kind of dead. Uh, when they show up at the track, it's kind of like Will Power. He kind of ran the same speed on final day as he did day one. He was just slow.
Yeah.
And that's a
Uh,
Penske car. It's pretty bad.
it was rather surprising, but yeah, I didn't get to watch. I had to listen to most of the race, but it's just intriguing, the whole concept behind the Indy 500 and things like that.
Yeah.
And but the crowds you guys get are enormous as well. Like those stadiums are just built beautifully. But what's the biggest crash that you've seen while you're at the track? Any big monster ones?
Oh, yeah, there's been plenty at Talladega. I'll never, probably one of the biggest I remember, I think it was 2005. I'll have to think back on that. Either way, I know Paul Menard was involved in it. He was driving for Andy Petrie at the time, and I think it wiped out probably 15, 20 cars easy. I mean, it was big. I mean, and ARCA fields are usually a little smaller anyway, and it wiped out probably half the field. It was crazy. They red flagged the race. They were bringing cars in on the hook for it seemed like an hour. We were already out. We blew an engine or something, and yeah, it went on for like an hour. They were bringing cars in on the hook. It was like, oh my god.
That's crazy.
Jeez.
I think honestly we've got another probably hour and a half to talk about this kind of stuff, but we need to move
Yeah.
on because we've got the Twitch stuff to talk about, let alone iRacing stuff to talk about. Which and I wanted to even talk about gaming as a dad because I know you got the 2 kids as well. But
Yeah.
just quickly on that, like, how do you find time? What's your secrets?
I get the kids involved. My
Yeah,
daughter's 13, my son's 11, going to be 12 in October. So I just get them involved. They I've got a laptop that they can game on a little bit, and we just kind of do it together as a family, and that's when it's the most fun, honestly.
are they going to
Getting
be
them involved in it.
doing iRacing soon, or are they already doing that?
My son's kind of tinkering with it. I'm a little hesitant to turn him loose on the general population yet because he's still pretty rough, but he's getting there. Yeah, but yeah, my son wants to. My daughter, she's kind of into other stuff as far as gaming, and I'm good with that. I mean, she tried it a little bit and she was like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not really for me.
Yeah,
She's more into the arcadey stuff, like Forza. She likes Forza.
Yeah, new Forza coming out later on this year. She'll be happy with that. My
Oh,
kids both
yeah.
sit there and play it. They started going back and playing number 3 the other day just randomly.
Oh wow,
But
yeah.
they love it. They've put in more hours than me, and I think I had it pre-launch and played it about 100 hours
Did you
before it
really?
even launched. Yeah, streamed
Oh,
both
that's
of them
awesome.
pre-launch. It was so much fun. Let's get into Twitch.
Mhm.
When did you start? When did you decide to press go live for the first time?
That would have been 2018, honestly. And I mean, I didn't take it serious until right around, well, it had been around March of last year. But I started kind of dabbling with it in 2018. No face cam, no memes for channel points, no anything. It was just, I was just like, okay, if somebody wants to watch me play War Thunder or World of Warships with my buddies and here's kind of chatting on Discord, and I just push live. It was very sporadic. And then, but yeah, it didn't get serious until last year when I started really putting the effort in.
What made you turn it on the first time?
I just saw everybody else. I like to watch. I was, just a guy browsing through Twitch, watching people that were pretty good, at World of Warships or War Thunder, and just kind of watching them. And I said, I'm pretty good at this. Maybe people want to watch it. So I just hit go live. I mean, I don't think, honestly, I think the first 3 or 4 streams, they may have been like 30-40 minutes long. I mean, they were a little short, and I literally was just, I don't think I even had any kind of voice comms available for it. It was just me playing a game.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody watched, but
doesn't matter.
To me, that was a big thing because by nature, I'm kind of socially awkward.
Yep.
So, that was a big step to even just turn it on and let people see me play a game, at that point.
100%. I know a few people that are in similar situations, and they've actually stopped because they got too big, and that social awkwardness actually got too much for them because they all.
Oh wow!
The anxiety of having that many people watching was like, no, I can't do this anymore, and
Really?
the pressure and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's I understand there's heaps of people in our Discord that are like that. So, and it's very interesting. I did Warships for a hot little minute as well. Our Discord's actually just starting to get back into it now. So really badly streamed World of Warships. It was good fun. So what's your setup at the moment? How do you what do you got? Just OBS, one computer? How do you use the streaming?
I was running a 2-stream setup. I'm back to a 1-stream set or a 1 PC setup. Sorry about that. I'm back to a 1. My other one is it's on its last legs. It's got parts in it from the first computer that I ever built. So I think the motherboard's fried in it now. So I'm back to 1. I mean, it's an RTX 2070 with an i7. I mean, it's solid setup. 16 gigs of RAM. Yeah, I missed the 2 PC setup though. It was a little smoother, but I don't know. I've got something like 7 screens, including my work screens. I don't know if you've seen that. There's a picture floating around on Daniel's Discord somewhere of the 7-screen setup. It's ridiculous.
I had 5 hooked up to the 1 PC, but it was a 2 PC setup, and I would have gone 6, but my wife was going to kill me if I had have gone the 6th one. So, and I easily could have had a 7th. No question about that. I just got a 43-inch TV as one of the monitors, so I can split up things on that. So I understand.
Oh yeah, my main screen's a 55-inch, and
is it?
Yeah,
I need to upgrade.
It's yeah, but I mean, it's funny because there's been people that are like, "Hey, I want to add a screen or 2," and I'm like, "Dude, when you start, you won't stop. If you get addicted to adding screens, you'll always find room for more." And they didn't believe me, and lo and behold, they've got 4 or 5 now.
Look, Brayden, you're up to 4 now.
We'll get you up to 4, and I just bought a mount for my I have like an old iPhone that I've been meaning to sell for like 6, 8, 9 months, and it's just been sitting in my drawer, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's time I actually repurpose this. So I bought a mount to attach it to my Club Sport wheelbase so that I can run that as a dash or as something else. Maybe I'll put Twitch chat on there or something. I don't know. But I was just like, awesome. I need more things, more things to play with.
I literally got a mount for my Samsung tablet, 12-inch. Last Friday, so that's going to be on my dedicated Facebook chat because I can't get it anywhere else on my thing. So we're always adding. You never ever stop. How often does the things just go wrong before you go live or during going live with streaming?
Well, it's bad enough that I've got an entire scene set up for tech issues. that's got some fail flute action going on, and yeah, I've got a whole scene for it now, and a tech counter because tech fails me. It's the chat. It doesn't even hurt chat anymore. I actually get more people when I have tech issues than I do
Yeah.
when I'm actually just streaming.
I used to love, so I'd raid people that I knew, and only if I knew them, I'd send my chat, okay, everyone, before we go in and ask what's wrong with the audio. And just all of you keep on hammering, I can't hear it, no game audio, and the streamer would lose it. It was so fun. And they'd be sitting there going, I'm sure I checked it, I'm sure I double checked it, and then I'd come in and say, sorry, that was my fault, everything's fine.
That's awesome.
So do that to Daniel one time.
Perfect.
Daniel, what's going on? It's all wrong. But look, obviously you get a lot out of Twitch streaming. Shout out some of your best members, and have you met up with any of them in real life?
Haven't yet. I mean, there's going to be
COVID has been a thing.
Yeah, we'll probably try to organize something. I mean, my stream's awesome. It's kind of a community. I mean, more of a community feel where, we're all friends. I mean, everybody in chat, love talking to them, love hanging out with them. And, hopefully they feel the same way. I mean, they show up, either that or they show up for the abuse. I'm not sure, but, but man, I mean, from Night Dragon, she's a mod. She was one of my earliest viewers. Livid, who you can't trust to say anything to anybody. He somehow made it the mod. I mean, there's been a long list of people, and there a lot of them are still around, and a lot, the ones that aren't, that I haven't seen in a long time, still pop by, and some of the first subs that I ever had when I made affiliate, and it's, man, I've got a hell of a community. A lot of course, there's a lot of flow back and forth between Daniel's community and mine, and it's been an absolute blessing to have made friends with them. And of course, there is the big Bathurst 1000 Stig vacation extravaganza that's going to take place. Probably not this year, but
okay. Well, let us know when it's happening, because I will make that happen as well. We're 100%. I'm doing anyway, and I'm telling anyone to come along, is Gold Coast, the big finale. So that'll be in December. So we'll be doing a meetup there for sure. So honestly, I 100% encourage you to do it as soon as you can. We do packs every year. And I've met people that are in the community from that, and it's just an extension of. It's as if you've like the first time we've ever meet the people, and it's just as if you've known them all your life. You just sit there and just chat away as if they're your best friend from years gone by. It's such an unreal feeling. Like you get back and you go, that was the first time I actually face to face met that person, but we just talked for 7 hours straight and drank and chatted and eat and wherever, and it was just the best feeling in the world. So definitely get around it and doing that. We haven't even asked you about your iRacing stuff. Brayden, do you want to ask him some random iRacing questions?
Well, I was just interested. What are you racing on at the moment? What gear do you run?
Oh, wheel?
Yeah.
So I'm running literally just a T300 RS Thrustmaster with the Thrustmaster TLCM pedals, the load cell pedals.
Thrustmaster seems to be a lot more popular overseas. I don't know if it's the pricing here. The pricing seems to be like really quite expensive. I think overseas it seems to be a bit more competitively priced.
Honestly, the 300 RS you can get for not much more than a G29. Literally, look, I mean, I'm talking like I got this 300 RS probably in November. Until then, I was still racing on the same Logitech Momo that I've had since 2000 or thereabouts. It was one of the first like run black Momos, and I've still got it. It still works. I've threatened to drag it out and beat Daniel with it just because.
That wouldn't be hard,
please. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty basic. I want to move up. I've got the Next Level Racing foldable rig, but it just doesn't work well with my Twitch setup, or I would use it more.
Yeah. And you run mostly oval racing, obviously.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Let's back up. So I should run oval racing mostly. We'll go with that, but I don't because I'm not a smart man. I run a lot of road, and I'm not very good at it, but I do it anyway because it's fun.
Any
ever
particular
get in-
cars you've enjoyed?
Yeah.
I love the GT3s, which I'm going to be running the 24 Hours of Spa. I love Spa. Spa is awesome. But I love the F1 cars. I love the McLaren.
Yeah.
I love
Do you
running
ever-
it, and if you
do you
can
ever
get
get
an
into the-
official race,
Dirt oval stuff, since that's where you started.
yeah, I do. And I'm not very good at it. For whatever reason, I'm not very good at it anymore. I don't know. It didn't translate. I'm not sure. I like it. I'm just, man, there are some guys, honestly, out of all of the different segments of iRacing, I think the dirt oval guys are probably the hardest core. I mean, they are the guys that do that. They will not race anything else, and they race one class and they race it well, and that's it. They don't touch anything else. It's crazy. Those guys are nuts. They're fast.
We've got world champion Alex Bergen on the podcast later on this week as well. So yeah,
Oh, hey, yeah.
it's going to be pretty awesome just to have a chat with him about it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll be one of those hardcore style people. So
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What's your favorite car and track combo?
Let's see. If I was, probably the ARCA car at Charlotte. And I got to say that has changed a little bit. I do love the new next gen car. The new next gen car is fun, but it used to be the ARCA car at Charlotte. Now that, and I don't know if it's a setup or what they've done to the physics, but it's so loose to drive. It's so crazy oversteery. It's just, it's difficult to drive. But man, yeah, that would have. I'll just leave that as my favorite. That's my all time favorite out of all of them.
And
Pocono is
what was
my
your-
favorite track, but as a combination,
Ooh.
the two.
Yeah. No, we got bad taste in our mouth from Pocono because we went there with our skips, did the road track,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was an interesting race. Let's put it that way.
That was back when I was
engines.
terrible as well.
Yeah, back when I was. Oh, hold on, I'm still terrible. It's all good. What was your favorite track to in real life to go to and spot or race?
To spot, probably. Well, any of the mile and a halves, really. Probably my home track, Kentucky. Honestly,
Yeah.
That's my home track. So Kentucky Speedway. I got to say that one. That's probably the second or third track I ever spotted was my home one. So
Always good to go
Yeah.
home, definitely.
oh yeah.
We better start wrapping this up. We've had you for an hour. Where can people find yourself? That's the best way to go. Where can people find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Stig_gaming. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Stig_gaming, Instagram, Stig_gaming. Yeah, I don't post a lot on those, but you can definitely find me on Twitch, especially with the new schedule coming up with the job. I've got a new schedule, streaming schedule, and you can find that in my Discord, which you can find a link to that in my stream.
Excellent. I was going to ask you what days are you streaming right now?
Right now, it's moved to a revolving kind of 2-week thing. So like if this, I know this is going to get a little wordy. You just asked for a simple schedule, and I'm going to have to explain it. But
No, go for it. All good.
yeah, so I'll be streaming this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Then I will not stream again until Thursday and Friday. Then the next week I'll stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday.
That makes sense.
We're just still processing what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you normally stream though? Is it always iRacing?
iRacing, Forza. I do a lot.
Yeah.
I do some Forza. I like to get the community together to do some Forza.
Yeah, it's good fun with the whole group of guys. Forza.
Yeah, I mean that's always a blast. But yeah, we'll be doing some F1 2021 this week.
Interesting. Interesting.
Pumped for that. This weekend we're probably dive into that.
I tried 2020 and I just couldn't get into it, but yeah, I don't know what it was.
I'm hoping the breaking point thing is going to be really cool.
Okay.
I want to see the story mode, drive to survive thing going on. Yeah.
Cody's have always been not too bad at that, which I haven't minded, but yeah.
They did it all right in the V8 Supercars game.
Way
Race
back. Driver series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no NASCAR games that do that well anymore. The EA Sports games used to be really good.
I will quickly get Brayden to shout out where people can find him, and I'll do me, and then we'll say goodbye and any final words. But go, Brayden.
Yeah, so as always, you can find me over at twitch.tv/the1dwade. It's actually starting to get some people over there hanging out, which is really cool. I got to give a shout out to Buzzer_888. He's been in a lot of streams lately, and he came from the podcast from nowhere else, so that was pretty cool to see. And yeah, if you want to hear me probably crying about one of my sports teams or something, you can come and check me out on Twitter at Brayden Talks.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Buzzer. He was there for my epic fail on Thursday night, which I almost rage quit the stream. So thank you for hanging around and the kind words you put in. But you can find us at Locked On Lads on Twitch.tv. You can find us at Locked On Lads on Facebook. You can find us the Discord, lockedonlads.com/Discord. You can definitely get in there. Also in the show notes if you want to join the Discord. Sorry, Stig, you're in the Discord now. It's going to be a bit hectic, but enjoy. Just show us your meat in one of the channels there that says show us your meat. You'll be right. Thank you to Clayton Davies Simtography for sponsoring us as well. He got 2 wins at USA Speedway on the weekend, with Brady Baldwin taking a win and not myself, our team getting a win in race 2. So well done to him, and thank you for helping us out as well. Go check him out on Facebook, CD Simtography. And other than that, that's pretty much all the places you can find us and do stuff. Wilko's Chill Zone on Twitter if you really want to find me, but I'm not there at the moment. But thank you for everyone who ats me every now and then. Thank you so much, Stig. You've been awesome. And like I said, I could have talked for another 3 or 4 hours just about NASCAR, but you're an absolute legend. And we will catch you sometime again soon. We'll get some more content happening with you. But yeah, good luck putting up with Daniel.
Oh, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it so much.
No problems at all. Thank you, and we'll talk to you all later. Have a good one. Bye.
Drive safe, drive fast.